Okay, so for this one I'm using 3 panels, doing a triptych, and I've just mixed some resin in with the sand that I've got from the beach. All I've done is I've mixed it in with the resin, and I'm just going to spread this about. I started off using a stick to spread it about, and then ended up using my fingers because I felt that I could move it about a little bit more easily. Now the first little bit that I did, I actually had, it was actually quite thick and wasn't moving, so the second batch that I mixed there, I used a bit more resin so it was flowing a little bit easier. Now you're probably wondering why I'm doing another beach scene, because I've done a video on this before, relating to the waves and the lacing, etc, etc. So I wanted to use this opportunity to go into more depth on what it is that I do to achieve the cells, because this is something obviously that a lot of people struggle with. So I wanted to go in, like I say, go into more detail on how I do this. So hence why I'm doing another beach scene. So for the background colour, I'm actually just using 2 colours. I'm using Artisue Jade and Artisue Sapphire Blue. Now you can see that there's a slightly darker shade on the Jade there that I've just poured on the second line. It's actually because that contains a little bit of the sapphire blue, because I mixed some more of the jade, so I'm just doing a very subtle blend, and the next pour I do is going to be just the sapphire blue, and I'm just using my fingers to just gently blend those 2 colours together. One of the first things you need to consider when you're attempting to create lacing and cells is the type of resin that you're using. If it's a lot thicker, then it's going to be much harder to move the resin, so that when you blow the white, you're not necessarily going to get lacing because there's not a lot of movement in there. If your resin's too runny, while it will move and you'll get nice cells, when your board is leveling, you may find that you'll then lose some of the cells and lacing. So it's not an exact science, but there is a number of factors that is going to determine whether you achieve cells or not. As always, I'm using the heat gun as I go just to zap any bubbles, and I'm also going to use my fingers to move the resin. Now I'm not actually, although you can see my hand going across here, I'm actually just spreading that around slightly, and then I'm going to start using my fingers to dabble the colours across to blend the 2 together, because I don't want to swipe across. So as you can see, I'm dabbling my fingers to give a more watery feel to the background colour. So just like I say, just using the fingers to just dabble the colours and not blend it too much, because you still want definition between the 2 colours. And then just touching up the edges, just making sure that the edges are covered in the resin. So next I've mixed another batch of resin, not as much as the first because we're just going to do some highlights on this, and I'm just pouring clear along the edge of the sand line, and then just the odd line through the sea. Note, I haven't let the bottom layer cure at all. This is one of the questions that I get asked quite a lot, is how long do I leave the bottom layer to cure before I pour this layer? I don't. I do this straight away. As soon as I've finished that layer, I go away, mix some more resin, and I come back and pour the clear on top. I also mix a little bit of the Res white in with a small amount of the resin. This is not paint just poured on the top. This is actually resin paste mixed in with the resin, and that is then just poured in lines across the top where I've poured the clear. So just to so that the white is actually balancing on top of the clear, and now using the heat gun on the highest setting because I want it to blow, and I also want it to be really hot because I want the resin to warm up and move more freely. There's no other additives used here. I'm not using silicone, I'm not using anything else other than clear resin and the white paste mixed in the resin on the top, and then that's basically it. So what I'm going to do now is areas where it just needs a little bit more definition, I'm just going to add a little bit more white. I don't need to add any more clear to this because it's fine as it is. But I am again going to add more heat and the swirling motion to just break that up. I'm not blowing it, I'm trying not to blow it around too much. And as you can see, I'm just where I feel it just needs a little bit more. And also just because I'm trying to make it look like it is flowing across the 3 panels, so I'll go back and just add a little bit more here and there just to make it look as though it flows across the 3 panels. So I mean the board, when they were curing, the resin does run off a little bit and it's not perfect, but you know, you get the feel for it anyway, and it actually looks quite effective.